And after searching through all of the hydration fluids, I realized I can make my own, or I can buy a specifically formulated oral hydration solution. This one didn't fill this up so much, then it would work better, but I had to put a liter in, so this is 1 liter. Hi friends, I have here 4 of the best hydration fluids that I bought searching through 5 stores and reading probably through about 50 different labels. Actually, one of these jars is water, which you can transform easily into an awesome hydration fluid yourself with a few simple items I got from my kitchen. This is because pre-made hydration fluids aren't cheap. They cost me at least $5 for a liter, and if you're truly dehydrated, you're going to need more than just 1 bottle. I literally went to supermarkets, drugstores, and superstores to find the best hydration drinks, not for recreational use, but to help someone who is seriously dehydrated. Now, I thought it was going to be an easy shopping trip, just grab and go. But to my surprise, there are a lot of drinks sold under the label hydration that really don't hydrate, and they have side effects that go way beyond fluid imbalance. But if you're interested in pre-made hydration drinks, let me show you my 3 simple rules to pick the best ones, and in the end, I'll tell you which ones I bought and how to make your own if you're on a budget. Check the baby aisles first. Hydration drinks can be found in the baby good aisles, pharmacy aisles, or beverage aisles. The better and pure ingredients will be in the baby aisles. That's not always true, but I always start in the baby section first to look for clean hydration drinks. Now, what does clean hydration drinks mean? It means it has sugar in the form of glucose or dextrose. Yes, I said sugar. I'm looking for also the right ratio of sodium and potassium, and I'll explain all this later. These are the most important ingredients: sodium chloride, potassium, and sugar. But I actually don't look for those ingredients first. Most hydration drinks have some form of ratios of these ingredients. So I start by eliminating ingredients that I don't want in my drinks. And these ingredients are generally smaller in quantity, so they will put them at the end of the ingredient list. You're wondering what these 4 hydration solutions are. So one of these is water. You can see that it's clear. And then this is, of course, not water. Well, it has water in it, but these are all hydration fluids that I bought from the store. And after searching through all of the hydration fluids, I realized I can make my own, or I can buy a specifically formulated oral hydration solution. This one is Pedialyte. Many companies actually make their own. They make Target is an Up and Up brand. Walgreens has their own brand. So this one is Pedialyte, but I've bought Up and Up and I've bought Walgreens. So right here, I labeled Pedialyte so I wouldn't get myself confused. And this one is just my water, my free water. It's a reverse osmosis water. So when you are dehydrated, this is not going to be a good oral solution if you have prolonged dehydration and you're not eating, right? So if you are undergoing some kind of stress that inhibits your appetite and you're not eating solid food, then you can rapidly deplete your electrolytes. So these 2 are actually good hydration solutions as well. This one is all natural. This is, you can see it's cloudy, okay? And this is actually coconut water. So I bought coconut water because it has sugar. It's a high source of potassium. It's one of the highest sources of potassium that you're going to find in a natural drink. So this here is broth. It's vegetable broth. Some people will prefer to drink some kind of chicken or beef or bone broth, right? So this is not a debate about what kind of broth you should drink. This is basically an exercise on drinking broth for hydration as opposed to drinking free water. Because when you drink free water, it doesn't have the sodium, the potassium, the chloride, the bicarbonate to help you replenish your fluid balance in your plasma. And if you drink a combination of these 2, like a broth as well as coconut water, this is actually pretty good. And you can replace your electrolyte with these 2. Or if you drink a oral rehydration solution, especially formulated for people with dehydration. All right. And notice that this solution is clear, it's colorless. You know, I avoid anything with added color. Now, you can make this taste better by pouring a little bit of juice. And the specific juices that I would recommend are juices that have citric acid, because citric acid can be converted into citrate, and citrate can help you buffer your pH in your blood, right? So you can dilute this a little bit for flavor as opposed to excessively diluting it, right? Because you don't really want to excessively put too much juice, because then you'll mess with the concentration of this oral electrolyte solution that was formulated for hydration purposes. Okay, so let me move these. Okay, so let me see. Yes, this is Pedialyte. This is coconut water. This is broth, okay? And this one is plain water. Okay, so I'm going to move my solutions. When you look for hydration products, you're not going to find bicarbonate. You usually find citrate, like in this bottle that they put potassium citrate and sodium citrate. Citrate helps maintain the electrolyte balance in the body because it acts as a buffer to regulate the pH of your body to help prevent acidosis. So oftentimes when you're sick, your blood can get more acidic. Citrate actually gets metabolized into bicarbonate in your liver, and then it goes into your blood, and that's how it helps to buffer your body's pH. And some people with severe diarrhea often get a metabolic acidosis, and this could be life-threatening. Now, companies could have put bicarbonate instead of citrate because citrate literally gets converted into bicarbonate. But the problem is that when you add bicarbonate, this is unstable and can be broken down into carbon dioxide in water, which can then make your bottle fizzy, as well as more acidic. And then you lose the buffering effect over time. Another reason why citrate is better than bicarbonate is because citrate has been shown to enhance the absorption of sodium and water better than sodium bicarbonate. And the third reason why citrate is the preferred oral hydration solution is because it tastes better than bicarbonate. Have you ever tasted baking soda? It's pretty salty and not very good tasting. But when you eat fruits high in citric acid, your liver can convert citric acid into citrate. And this is why you can make hydration drinks with fruit juices, but sometimes excessive fruit juice consumption can lead to diarrhea. Number 2, read your ingredient label backwards to find the artificial stuff. I avoid artificial food coloring. They are chemicals with the word red, blue, yellow. I'm not into any of that. It won't help my body, and it doesn't serve any biological purpose. And generally, things that don't serve any biological purpose will tax the body because the body will try to clear it. So that's an easy way to filter out brands that I don't want to buy. Artificial stuff also includes artificial sweeteners. Many artificial sweeteners don't even belong in the environment, let alone in our bodies. And these sweeteners, they can actually make your metabolism of glucose worse. So when you drink a drink that has sugar and an artificial sweetener, that artificial sweetener may actually make your body spike that glucose higher. So I definitely avoid the combination of sugar and artificial sweetener in any drink. To that stress. Now, the second ingredient that is commonly paired with sucralose was another artificial sweetener called Acesulfame potassium, which is 200 times sweeter than sugar. It too can disrupt your gut microbiome and gets flushed out to become an environmental contaminant. So why does it belong in our bodies? I really don't know. And by the way, when you get sick, the gut microbiome already undergoes significant changes that can influence the nature of your illness, your recovery, as well as your body's immune response. And during an infection, beneficial bacteria such as bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, they often decrease, and pathogenic bacteria often increase. And this shift can weaken the gut's barrier function and immune response. In addition, these sweeteners are not absorbable, and they can draw in water to your gut to make you lose more water. That's why some people get loose stools when they eat artificial sweeteners. And these sweeteners shift your gut microbiome. Now, have you wondered why you would have loose stools? Maybe your body's trying to get rid of those sweeteners because it doesn't belong in the body. And hence, this is an easy way to screen out hydration solutions that won't hydrate you. Now, if I'm dehydrated and I'm looking for a hydration drink, I don't want a drink that's going to give me more dehydration. So that's another reason why I avoid artificial sweeteners. Now, the first thing that I noticed was that almost everything that is flavored has sucralose, which has 0 calories, but is 600 times sweeter than sugar. The reason why it has 0 calories is because it's not real food. It isn't even a natural chemical. It's an artificial Frankenstein chemical created by people. And unfortunately, it's in thousands of food products now. Sure, it's been labeled as safe. I mean, a little bit of arsenic is also safe too, right? And that's why arsenic is allowed in rice and rice products, seafood, apple and grape juice, poultry, and drinking water, even though arsenic is a known carcinogen. Sucralose is known to disrupt your gut microbiome. And when you have a bowel movement, sucralose actually gets flushed in the toilet to become an environmental contaminant. And in addition, when you ingest products with sucralose, you may also be ingesting some sucralose-6 acetate, which is an impurity formed during the manufacturing process of sucralose or when you put sucralose to high heat, like baked items. Are you avoiding genetically modified foods? Then you should consider chemicals that can genetically modify you, such as sucralose-6 acetate, which is a genotoxin, which means it can mutate your DNA. Now again, even though sucralose is technically a 0-calorie sweetener, it actually has the opposite effect on glucose metabolism. Human clinical trials have shown that regular consumption of sucralose worsens blood sugar control instead of improving it. Now, I place sugar substitutes in the same box as artificial sweeteners, and you will often see the word dextrose. It is not a sugar substitute. It is actually sugar, 2 molecules of glucose. Glucose is necessary to help with the absorption of sodium and water. Have you ever sneaked into a party or a club because your friend had a ticket? Well, that is the transport of sodium and water with glucose. Glucose holds the ticket for sodium and water to pass. This special system has a name, sodium glucose co-transporter. So if you don't have glucose, you don't absorb sodium and water to hydrate. And this is why the non-nutritive sweeteners and artificial sugars are not hydration drinks and will not hydrate you if you are seriously dehydrated. Neither will sugar alcohols, such as natural sugar substitutes called stevia and monk fruit. In fact, these ingredients can contribute to gastrointestinal problems, potentially causing more dehydration and discomfort. By the way, there are actually medications that inhibit the sodium glucose transport system. They are called SGLT-2 inhibitors. And this is why they cause dehydration. And this is why when a person is experiencing a dehydration event, such as gastroenteritis, that these drugs really should be stopped. But of course, you should check with your medical doctor before you make any changes in your medications. Now, number 3 is to focus on the good stuff. Number 1 is dextrose. Number 2 is sodium chloride. And number 3 is potassium. And of course, the right proportions are super important. Now, honestly, when I went shopping for electrolytes, I wasn't actually intending to make a YouTube video until I found it so confusing for myself to pick the perfect solution. I literally had to flip over all these bottles to find the right ingredients. I didn't think it was going to be such a daunting task. When you are seriously dehydrated, you can't just replete it with any kind of drink on the market. And I was trying to help somebody who had serious dehydration. This person had hypovolemic hyponatremia, in which the body loses both water and sodium, but sodium is lost at a greater rate. And this can happen from many reasons. Number 1, you can have excessive sweating, maybe from fevers. Number 2, you can have profound diarrhea, or you're frequently urinating, or this can happen from medications, and it can happen even quicker if you are not drinking the right fluid, especially if you're not eating. And this is because when you lose body fluid, you're not just losing water. You're often losing electrolytes such as sodium, chloride, potassium, and magnesium. And you would think that people who would be more susceptible to these conditions, like severe dehydration, would have some underlying heart, kidney, or liver disease. And that is true. But it's also true that normal, healthy people, even young people, as well as older people and middle-aged people, they all can quickly deplete their electrolyte and fluid if they don't watch their intake of their fluid, as well as their food and their conditions in which they are living in. Basically, if it's summer, if it's hot outside, or if they're excessively sweating or excessively working out. These are all ways in which you can get severely dehydrated and lose electrolytes quickly. Dehydration is very, very common. This also can happen to people who fast. So when you're fasting and you're not drinking the right type of fluids replenished with the right electrolytes, or if you're not drinking enough fluid because you're not eating, because a lot of hydration comes from actual food that we're eating, then you can also become severely dehydrated with electrolyte disturbances. And this is another reason why picking the wrong way to lose weight can often lead to poor health outcomes. So if you are fasting, it's important that you let your physicians know so they can help guide you to safely fast. When you lose electrolytes, depending on the electrolytes that you lose, that can determine the symptoms. These electrolytes are important to regulate how much water is actually inside the cell versus outside the cell. This is also important for electricity conduction. Your heart, we can do an EKG because it has electrical rhythms that we can capture. Your brain, we can do an EEG because it also has electrical rhythms that we can capture. So if you don't have enough of the right electrolytes, you can't make this electrical current. This can lead to irregular heartbeats, whether it's too fast or too slow. This can also lead to abnormal thinking. So basically you can get very confused, delirious, you can be sleepy or somnolent, lethargic, or even have seizures. This is why when you're losing fluid for an extended period of time, you cannot just drink plain water, especially when you're not eating. Most normal, healthy individuals don't have electrolyte imbalances because we're eating food so that we can drink water the entire day and not have to worry about it. Because when you eat food, you're eating a lot of electrolytes. But when you're fasting or when you're not eating any food because you've lost your appetite, then you do need to worry that your water has electrolytes. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm all about reducing sodium in the diet because the average American eats way too much sodium. The American Heart Association recommends that we should stick under 1,500 milligrams of sodium. And that is easily done if you're just eating whole foods. And you'll totally exceed that if you're going to eat processed foods. Now, I generally don't salt any of my foods and I avoid processed foods. But if I'm eating all day and I'm not losing excessive sodium from maybe a heat wave or spending the day at the amusement park, fasting or exercising in the heat of the day, or working outdoors in the heat of the day, and especially if I'm not having diarrhea or excessively urinating or sweating or throwing up, then I'm most likely not losing more electrolytes than I can replenish. But whether you're urinating from high blood sugars or taking medications like a diuretic or having a urinary tract infection, or maybe you're having fevers, or on top of all of that, you may be throwing up, then you are probably rapidly losing your electrolytes. And the first thing you should do is to speak with your medical doctor because you have to get to the root cause of why this is happening. Otherwise, you'll be in a vicious cycle of trying to rehydrate yourself and getting dehydrated. So please don't be afraid to get medical care, especially if you feel bad. At this point, you need, at the very minimum, a blood test called a chemistry panel to make sure that your electrolytes aren't off balance. And it's a really simple, quick test that can be expedited in an urgent care or an emergency room. Knowing your electrolytes can help you begin correction the same day. It's important to know your sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate. And by knowing these numbers, your doctor can actually help you find the perfect electrolyte solution for hydration. Now, if all these numbers are normal and you're sent home and just told to drink hydration fluid, let me show you a DIY way that the World Health Organization recommends people use to get rehydrated. So first, you're going to need a jar of plain water. And actually, you're also going to need some simple kitchen ingredients. So I have here 4 solutes. Basically, they're solids that's going to dissolve in my water. Okay, so if you look at the World Health Organization website, they're going to recommend sugar, which is sucrose. Sucrose is half glucose, half fructose. So I have here organic sugar. The next thing that they're going to recommend is salt. Okay, here's sodium chloride, that's iodinized. And in addition, you're going to need some bicarbonate or baking soda. And then the last thing would be some potassium salt. So this is a salt substitute. It's a potassium salt. And these 4 ingredients I'm going to put based on their recommendations in a 1 liter jar. Since buying commercially available hydration products often can be quite expensive.
These things are cheap. I found it to be really surprising. Like a bottle of water with some salt and sugar is $4.50 to $6.50 or $9.50. So I go for the cheapest, cleanest brand, and that is actually $1 or $2 or sometimes $3 less than the most expensive fancy brands that have all the junk stuff. No color. Walgreens electrolyte solution. Whoops, it's kind of heavy. Okay, so, and does it have any dyes? No. Artificial flavors? No. It just has dextrose. Hey, this is actually a hit. I finally found an electrolyte drink that I would feed my children.
And now we're going to make an oral rehydration solution, a DIY one, based on the World Health Organization recommendations. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to convert 4 cups of water makes about a liter of fluid. Okay, so this is a liter mason jar, all right, clean. And when you make your solution, remember you have to drink it within 24 hours because you can grow bacteria because you're putting sugar to everything. Okay, so it says you're supposed to put 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I don't have a tablespoon, I have a teaspoon. 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon, so I'm going to put 3 teaspoons. Pretty cool, huh? How it goes down. 2, 3. Okay, so this is organic sugar. 2 tablespoons of sugar, but I didn't have a tablespoon, so I put 3 teaspoons each. Okay, so the next one you want to use is sodium chloride, table salt. And they recommend you put like 2.6 grams, which is approximately about half a teaspoon. So I actually have half a teaspoon measurement. So I'm going to put half a teaspoon of sodium chloride. Okay. All right. Let me show you. Okay. Here's my sodium chloride, half a teaspoon. That looks pretty nice, huh? Okay. So the next thing you want to do after your sodium chloride is to put half a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. So that's about 2.5 grams of baking soda. I'm going to record this for you guys. All right. My baking soda is a little bit of chunky, and you want to get more powdery stuff so it can dissolve better, and then it'll have a more accurate measurement, right? Unless you get your chunks on the bottom. So let me get a part that's less chunky. So let me show you what it looks like going in, right? Here's my baking soda. Okay. All right. And then the last thing is I want to put a little bit of potassium inside, right? Because when you lose your electrolytes, but potassium, there's less of potassium in your body, so you're going to lose less potassium. Okay. So this, I'm going to get 1/4 of a teaspoon. Okay. And then, all right, let's see this last one going inside. Oh, it's kind of floating. Wow. It actually didn't just sink like everything else. It just floated. All right. Well, I'm going to shake this up. Look at that. It's just still floating. I'm going to shake this up and mix it together. Now, this solution actually has a little bit more sodium because my potassium was mixed in with some sodium, but that's okay. I'm going to shake this up, and then we'll see what it looks like after it's all shaken up. And plus, I'm going to try some to let you know what it tastes like, right? And we'll compare it to the Pedialyte that I bought, see if it tastes the same or not. Okay, so let's see if I can get this to dissolve. Sometimes you may have to warm this whole solution up better so that it dissolves more, right? But yeah, see, look at that lump. That's, I don't know what that lump is, but you see that lump? Here, let me show you the lump. You see that lump right there? This is why you need to either have a chopstick or you put everything powdered in, right? Okay, so things are not quite dissolved yet. Make it dissolve. If I didn't fill this up so much, then it would work better, but I had to put a liter in, so this is 1 liter. Okay, I may need like a chopstick to help me because that little component there won't go away, right? Wow. I think I need something to, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's potassium, but something. So obviously this would dissolve better if this was warm water, but it may not taste so good. Okay, I think I need to go get a chopstick to make that dissolve. It still won't dissolve. Now it's become a sphere. Look at that. It's become a sphere. Yeah, it's a uniform sphere. But, okay, I'm going to try to get that dissolved. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got myself, oh, it kind of dissolved. I went away and it dissolved. I got myself a really long chopstick to dissolve the sphere, and it somehow dissolved. Look at that. That's very interesting. I just walked away for less than a minute and somehow it dissolved on its own. Okay. Patience is a virtue. So, and I guess I wasn't patient enough. Okay. So I think this is mixed pretty well. Like I really don't see anything floating, right? You can see bubbles, but it's really nothing. I don't know. Maybe those are solutes and not bubbles. Hard to tell. They're rising, right? So we'll see. Okay. So I'm going to try this compared to Pedialyte. See what it tastes like, right? Pretty much they're both pretty clear. All right. So one, I'm going to put some Pedialyte, and the other one, I'm going to put my own or the WHO recommended hydration solution. Okay. I'm going to pour some without spilling it. Cap it so I don't spill. I'm prone to like spill things. And then this is Pedialyte. Okay, I just spilled some. So, all right. So I'm going to try this one. Actually, it's not bad. It's a little bit of a sugary, salty hint. To me like coconut water. I think it's potassium in it that has that coconut water taste. Okay, so I'm going to taste. This was Pedialyte. That actually really tastes like coconut water. Okay, definitely huge difference. This is actually has a little bit of stronger salty taste. It's sweeter, and this one much less sweet, has a less salty taste. And this one really tastes like coconut water, even though it's not. This is coconut water, right? I actually labeled it. It's translucent or it's cloudy, but this really tastes like coconut water. I was really unpleasantly surprised. And hydration is especially important for people who aren't eating and losing fluid. And for most of us, we can get away with drinking plain water because we're eating and our food has sugar and salts like sodium and potassium to help us absorb that water. So when you're looking for the right hydration solution, this is a really important purchase because you're going to spend at least $5 buying that hydration solution. And if you were truly dehydrated, you're going to need more than one bottle or one purchase. And many of these hydration solutions, honestly, they don't even taste great, even though they're putting a ton of sugar and a ton of artificial flavors inside. And so if you don't want the hydration solutions, that's actually okay, because there's just other ways to hydrate. If you think about it, normally people who eat food, we don't need to buy the hydration solution, right? You're drinking fluid, you're eating food. You have your fluid balance with the electrolytes by pairing the two. It's when you stop doing one or the other, or you're losing one or the other faster, right? That's when you're having this imbalance. And all our food is made out of some sort of electrolytes, usually, unless you're eating highly processed foods, right? And if you're eating carbohydrates, you're going to eat some sort of sugar. So here are some other ways to hydrate. Number one, you can look for a broth. So broth comes with both fluid as well as sodium, and sometimes it has potassium. You can't really rely on the potassium content because sometimes it doesn't have enough potassium. But usually it has fluid and some sodium. Now, if you are omnivore or carnivore, you're going to go for the animal-based broths. And if you are on the plant-based side, you're going to go for a plant-based broth. They both have fluid and sodium. So this video isn't about which one is better than the other. This video is purely on looking at it as a fluid and electrolyte replacement. They both can serve as very good fluid electrolyte replacements. And oftentimes they are tastier than the rehydration solutions. Now, if you look at the animal-based broths, even let's say the no sodium added chicken broths, they actually have sodium in it. And this is because the animal itself has salt, right? We all have salt. When you cook the animal, the salt will leach out. So if you're looking for no salt, depending on what you're looking for, you should expect some form of sodium in these broths. So if you're looking for potassium, you're going to have to look outside of the broths and go for plants. So a liquid that is very high in potassium is actually coconut water. And when you drink coconut water, you're going to get the sugar as well as the potassium, and you'll get a little bit of sodium. Plants, basically, the highest sources of potassium is going to be plants, beans and leafy greens. But if you don't have an appetite, you can't eat beans and leafy greens. You can, however, look for juices, and lots of juices have both sodium and potassium. Now, here's a guide from the University of Virginia on homemade oral rehydration solution recipes. Now, oftentimes, people really underestimate how impactful eating and drinking artificial sweeteners can be, or non-nutritive sweeteners can be on a person's recovery during illness. So if you want to learn more about artificial and non-nutritive sweeteners, watch the next video.